All righty, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this live webinar where we're going to discuss LSVT certification, your next step toward empowering lives. My name is Julia Wood, and I'm joined by my colleague Beth Peterson, and I'll tell you a little bit more about us in a moment. So, we're your presenters. Beth is a speech language pathologist and faculty for LSVT Loud. I'm an occupational therapist and I serve as faculty for LSVT Big. And so here are our biographies. I'm going to read them to you, but you'll notice here that both of us have an extensive background working with people with Parkinson's and working with LSVT Global. And so please, take a little time to read about who we are. But I think the big thing to know is that we're dedicated to treating people with Parkinson's and other neurodegenerative diseases with this program, and we've got a lot of experience in doing so. So we're happy to share that with you today. All right, so our disclosures, we both have non-financial relationships, and that a lot of times includes that we have a preference for LSVT Big and LSVT Loud. My colleague Beth is an employee of LSVT Global, and I'm a consultant for LSVT Global, and we both receive a lecture honorarium. So some logistics, you'll notice that your webinar or your microphones are muted for this webinar. So to ask questions, you can go to your Q&A button on the bottom and submit those, or you can also put those in the chat if you prefer. We have a handout that will be popping the link in for you, and you probably received that via email too, that you can download and take notes on. We really ask that you complete the survey at the end after you have watched the webinar, because we really value your feedback on the types of content that you would like to see. And also, we'll talk a little bit here about how you can get continuing education units. So we are not at LSVT Global, we're not ASHA state registered for CEUs for speech, PT, OT professionals. But if you can self-report in your state, then you can use a certificate for this event to do that. So the live webinar viewing, you can email us at webinars@lsvtglobal.com to request a certificate after completion. It'll have your name, the date, and the duration of the webinar. And then you also, if something happens today, your power goes out or you can't view the whole thing, you can get credits as well for viewing that webinar on demand. All right, so our learning objectives today. After this session, we hope that you'll be able to really recognize the growing need to equip and prepare therapists to treat people living with Parkinson's and other neurological conditions. We hope that you'll be able to state the benefits of receiving LSVT training and certification and differentiate the learning models for LSVT training and certification. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, why is this so important? Well, especially in the case of Parkinson's disease, we know that the prevalence of Parkinson's is expected to double by 2040. So, we're looking at a big part of our population being impacted by this progressive neurological disorder. And our question here is, are we ready? We have up to 8 million people worldwide living with Parkinson's. And so that's a lot of people, and that's going to be a huge burden potentially on our healthcare system if we're not really prepared for how best to treat these folks, and also really arming our clinicians who are in practice with the skills to know how to manage these conditions effectively. So the incidence of Parkinson's is 1.5 times higher than prior estimates have suggested. So this study came out recently, and they found that what we had been estimating for so long was pretty far off, that we're looking more at like 108 to 212 cases of Parkinson's per 100,000 people who are over the age of 65. And you'll notice how that's a little lower there for that 45 plus. So what this, all tallies out to is about 90,000 new cases annually in the United States alone. So the authors of this study felt this really underscored the urgency of being able to address Parkinson's disease at a national level, and I think even international level as well. So through a concerted effort, we can really tackle Parkinson's and have a world without Parkinson's. And this was James Beck from the Parkinson's Foundation. They have some great resources. I know they were highly involved in this study and this data. So definitely check this out if you're interested. So up to 1 billion people, though, globally are living with a neurological disorder. And this comes from the World Health Organization. So you'll notice here how Parkinson's is one of the larger ones here at 10 plus million. You'll see they're the biggest. We've got stroke, 101.5 million. That's a lot of people, who are possibly having some significant disabilities from that injury and that insult of that stroke. Alzheimer's and other related dementias, of which Parkinson's disease dementia and Lewy body dementia would be included in. It's around 24.3 million. You'll notice we've got some atypical Parkinsonisms there, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how LSVT big and loud can help Parkinson's disease and potentially these other conditions as well, giving you a real tool in your arsenal to help people in so many ways. So, our global mission is to empower people living with Parkinson's and other conditions to restore and maintain their highest levels of functional communication, mobility, and independence in their daily life. And we do that through the scientifically supported therapy programs of LSVT Loud for speech therapy and LSVT Big for physical and occupational therapy. So, what are these programs? Well, they are intensive, amplitude focused approaches based on theories of both neuroplasticity and then also motor learning. So these are theories, grounded in neuroscience that inform a lot of care that we get. And so neuroplasticity is that concept that our brain changes, right? And can change based on experiences that it has. That motor learning, we think about an athlete. If you practice a task and a skill over and over, you're hopefully going to improve it. So we're looking at that rooted scientific evidence. These programs also incorporate a sensory component. So we're helping individuals to independently target and understand what it feels like when they produce normal speech loudness and normal movement amplitude. So we know with a lot of these conditions, that sensory motor element has been impacted. So that perception of your vocal volume, the perception of their movement clarity is impacted. And so we have to put in that educational component as well. So these are LSVT Loud and LSVT Big, both are standardized treatment protocols that are based on many years of scientific research. And LSVT Loud and Big treatments consist of pretty intensive protocol, as I just said. So we're looking at 16 sessions, and those are done 4 consecutive days of a week for 4 weeks. These are going to be individual 1-hour sessions. So you're not treating 4 people at a time. That one client or patient is going to have all of your attention. There's also daily homework practice that you'll work and assign so that they're getting that practice and that real world generalization. And then also you'll be giving some daily carryover exercises so that they're taking the concepts that you're practicing in the clinic and applying them to their real world experiences. But it's important to note that even though these protocols are standardized, it's still very important that they be individualized as well. So we have to make sure that we're customizing the program to the unique goals of each patient. So essentially with the exercises, we're going to get into more of the details of it today, these functional elements. You can adapt that and you can progress it or modify it to meet each patient's need across a range of disease severity and different impairments. So you really are custom tailoring the entire 1-hour program to meet the unique I think things that are meaningful and relevant to that individual, as well as addressing their specific movement needs and impairments. So how can it be both though, right? If something's standardized, we think of it being highly structured and systematic. There's that high intensity, there's a lot of repetition. You're doing the exercises, right? Hundreds of times over the course of that month. It's a lot of specificity. So we're really looking specifically to those movement challenges. It's very complex a lot of times in the nature of addressing these goals and movement sequences. And we ultimately know it needs to be salient. It has to have purpose and meaning to that individual. But we also are able to individualize all of these elements to fit the patient's strengths. So, what are they really good at? And then also at the same time, address those challenges so that we're really building that confidence so that they can apply that in their everyday life. And ultimately, too, what we found is that when you motivate people this way, you empower them, you give them that autonomy and agency, you keep that patient motivated to communicate and move and want to be compliant with the program. So this has been a 30 plus year journey for LSVT Loud from invention to scale up. So you'll notice here back in the 80s, I'll give myself away. I was in high school in those last years, so that's been a while ago. There was the initial data presented to the Lee Silverman Center, and then you'll notice they were doing that treatment develop, and then it's gone through, all the way up to a phase 5 here. You'll notice research that has been funded by the NIH a lot. We've worked a lot with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, different national nonprofits. And so on average, it takes about 17 years for 14% of original research to be implemented into a physician's practice. So we know this has been a long journey and it's taken us a long time to get where we are and really supporting so many healthcare workers and people out there with neurological illnesses too. So what is the research, right? When we look at conditions other than Parkinson's, we get this question often. So you'll notice here we've given you a nice list. You can access these studies as well. We've looked at atypical Parkinson's disease, so multiple systems atrophy, corticobasal disease or degeneration or syndrome, depending on who you're talking to, progressive supranuclear palsy, and then also post DBS. So a lot of times they're encouraging people now to get DBS a little bit earlier, sometimes in their journey, and we're seeing more DBS. With stroke, we noticed that was one of the most common, right, out of all those neurological conditions. And we've got a whole string here of studies that have looked at the impact of using this amplitude-based training. Normal pressure hydrocephalus. I have got a total tongue twister today. Multiple sclerosis, Down syndrome, even autism spectrum disorder. So Beth is going to talk to you a little bit later on too about a lot of this application. So evidence-based practice does really matter, right? So before we recommend a therapeutic intervention to patients or invest in your education, it's really important that you know the evidence and the expected results. And that's what's so fantastic about both LSVT Loud and Big. So some questions to ask, has the intervention been researched? What's the depth and quality of the research? And how do you know it works? You really do want to be critical about that. So we also want to think about the clinical implementation though too, right? So how do things get from the big stack of research papers into that clinical implementation and then testing that fidelity? So from the broadest perspective, the goal of that clinical implementation is not just to transfer it to practice, but also to ensure that the quality of the treatment matches the research. So that's why it's 16 sessions over 4 weeks, not making up whatever dosing you want. That would be like changing the dosing of a medication. So that's what we've researched. And so that's why the protocol is what it is. All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Beth.
All right. Thank you, Julia. So thanks for that nice background on the why would we even need to get certified. We can see that there's a huge demand, not only with Parkinson's, again, which we might know that LSVT Loud and LSVT Big were originally designed for, but we also see it working with other populations as well. And so Julia presented some nice slides to show that demand across many different disorders. Most of our research is in Parkinson's, but there are small group designs, smaller case studies, across a wide range of disorders. So in the certification process, we teach clinicians how to go about If you have, a certain patient in mind with a disorder other than Parkinson's, here are the steps you would follow. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and show you a couple videos of success stories from clinicians in the field. So the first one you'll see is an LSVT loud example, and this is a woman with abductor laryngeal dystonia. So a neurologic disorder that's affecting her vocal folds and her control of those. So you often hear kind of this breathy, whispery voice. And so we'll see her kind of her journey. So this is a really neat case study that was done by a clinician. And it's going to take you through, the beginning of her treatment to the end. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that next.
I'll be home last. Ow! Honey, I'm in less than 20 minutes. It's all the food and drink. Yeah, baby.
Today is June 23rd. I am on day 4 of LSVT, loud therapy. And it hasn't been easy. Where are you going? Are you doing well? Dinner is ready. You are welcome. I'd like you to clean up. I'm so proud of you. Nice to meet you. Will I see you later? 93. Fill it up. Answer the phone, please. Where are you going? Are you doing well? Dinner is ready. You're welcome. I'd like you to clean up. I'm so proud of you. Nice to meet you. Will I see you later? 93, fill it up. Answer the phone, please. Hi, everyone. I finished LSVT Loud Voice Therapy just about a month ago, and I'd love for you to hear what my functional phrases sound like now in comparison to day 4 of LSVT. Where are you going? Where are you going? Are you doing well? Are you doing well? Dinner is ready. Dinner's ready. You are welcome. You're welcome. I'd like you to clean up. I'd like you to clean up. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Will I see you later? Will I see you later? 93. Fill it up. 93. Fill it up. Answer the phone, please. So as you can see, there's a huge difference from then to now, and there are literally almost no barriers in terms of what I can say, and it's amazing. Hey, stop it! I'm trying to make a video.
A great actress there at the end too with her son. So just hopefully you can see that really, really powerful outcome for her, and see that confidence. That's the thing I love the most about this is you can just see it in her face, how confident she is, she's joking, she's smiling, she's happy. And if you're not as familiar with the protocol, she was showing you her functional phrases. So that's one component of the therapy, where we have patients read 10 phrases. These are phrases, things that they say every single day. They're going to read them 10 times in therapy throughout all 16 sessions of therapy. So those were what she was showing you as her example. And then, so we can see those definitely improved. And I love the way that she compared, her recording from the phone to where she is a month after therapy. And then also you can tell just her conversational speech has also improved, which is really the end goal of therapy, that people are able to use this new louder voice all the time. So she was a really, neat case study that this clinician did, and actually just got her work published in this too. So I would encourage you to take a look at her work on this, and just again, a really powerful outcome beyond Parkinson's. So yes, again, hopefully you can see that difference pretty well here. And I have a nice quote from her too. So before LSVT Loud, I would say I was in the depression stage of grieving for my lost voice. Speech touches every aspect of one's life, your function, identity, livelihood, and self-expression. To have it disappear from a disorder of unknown etiology without any effective treatment so far was horrific. So LSVT loud therapy has literally given me my life back. And after a year and a half, I have a lot of catching up to do. I'm heard and I'm grateful. So, you know, there's a lot of research behind LSVT loud, and we're very proud of that. But I think these statements that we get from patients are really what, you know, just get us in the heart and have us coming back day after day with these life-changing protocols for these patients. So this quote was really pretty touching and amazing from her. So next I want to show you a video. So this is going to be LSVT big. And so this is a gentleman with Parkinson's. He was Hoehn-Yahr stage 3 at the time of his therapy. And he was a preacher. And so he had actually been more aware of his changes in his voice because he was using his voice in his workplace day to day. Wasn't as aware of the movement until he was having the evaluation. So in this video, you'll see him. There's kind of pre and post clips with him and his therapist. I think he's wearing gray. It should be obvious, but I think he's wearing gray when he's doing his pre-exercise and then black when he's doing his post. And so you can see that difference in just his amplitude, you know, his bigness of movements, his stride, his arm swing. Those are the types of things you'll see. And also, I don't want to give it away, but his confidence too. So you can see that improve as we go. So we'll take a look at his video too. And this is Mr. Channing.
Oh, the night that Patty Murphy died, I never shall forget. For all the boys got stinking drunk, and some ain't sober yet. Now the only thing they did that night that filled me heart with fear, they took the ice right off the corpse and put it on the beer. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy on the night that Patty died. Oh, McGinty was dead and McCarty don't know it. McCarty was dead and McGinty don't know it. They both were dead as they lay in the bed. Neither one knew that the other was dead.
All right, so you got a little snippet of his voice improvements too, but really neat with him too. You could really see, you know, improvements in speed and big movements and in the accuracy of his movements. And then again, that smile, you know, coming alive, you could see it from pre to post. So some nice outcomes for him as well. And, you know, that's what you'll see in your patients. And that's why I think, you know, Julie and I love this treatment. We've probably seen these videos, you know, hundreds of times, and I still get teary-eyed almost everyone I see when you see that pre to post, and just such a huge difference that you're making in people's lives. So it's really encouraging and inspiring. All right, so we've kind of talked to you about the need for, you know, therapists to be delivering treatments that are helping people with neurological conditions. Showing you a couple of videos of what this outcome can look like. So why should you get certified? And so we say that LSVT certification is an investment that pays dividends quickly. And I have some examples of things that clinicians report back to us. So enhancing their clinical skills. So yes, it's a protocol and it's a specific protocol. And we don't want to say that this is going to work for every patient that you treat, but they really feel well equipped to have this kind of tool in their toolbox. So, you know, if you're trying something with a patient and you're like, this just isn't working, you know, maybe LSVT Loud could help with that. Maybe LSVT Big could help with that. So it just enhances clinical skills. Also, people also kind of talk about how, you know, it's making them think differently. And Julia was talking about the neuroplasticity principles that, you know, motor principles that we're working through with the treatment. So it's just kind of opening some clinicians up to another world of clinical skills as well. Some clinicians report getting increased referrals. So we have a large database of clinicians around the world that can offer this treatment, and patients want the treatment and they come to our website and they look for it. They talk to their doctor, their neurologist. They want LSVT Big, they want LSVT Loud. So they're seeking clinicians and clinics that can offer it. So you know, if you're talking to a supervisor, administrator about the need for getting certified, you know, you can talk to them about this could potentially bring in more referrals to our center as well. Achieve better patient outcomes. And I think this is something I really latched on to in the beginning. When I was coming out of grad school, I felt like I didn't know, you know, I felt kind of lost, like I don't know how to treat people that I'm going to be working with in the real world. And I found LSVT Loud and just have stuck with it the whole time because it was a protocol. I applied it. I knew what to expect, and I saw it before my very eyes across 4 weeks of treatment, and people were getting better. So I felt good as a clinician that I was getting outcomes that were backed by research and I could see them clinically. And then clinicians also report a deeper sense of job satisfaction. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand. You're seeing, you know, patient outcomes, you know to expect these patient outcomes, you feel like you're doing a good job and you're doing the right thing for these patients. And again, you have that research to back it up. You're doing that evidence-based practice. You're doing, you know, the gold standard for what you can for Parkinson's. And I think that really does lend to that deep sense of feeling good about what you're doing in the job, you know, in the world as a bigger picture. And again, having those videos highlight it, you're really changing people's lives. And so it's just this great sense of satisfaction in what you're doing. And there's a neat study that was done by some alumni of an OT program at SUNY Downstate. And so they were actually looking into, you know, they said, we've seen research into the treatments and how they impact patients, but where's the research on, you know, what it's doing to clinicians? And they were specifically looking at grad students. So at their particular university, I want to say it started in 2017 or maybe a little earlier than that. But they have started doing at their program within their coursework, they are offered the 2-day training. And so they become certified as graduate students. And so then upon graduation, they're certified and they can begin delivering the treatment under the direction of an LSVT Big certified supervisor while they're still in clinic. So it's a really neat program that their university has adopted. It's available to other universities too, if anyone in the audience is interested in that, and I can talk about that more later. But anyways, they wanted to look into what were the general benefits for students that had gone through the program, the training when they were in grad school. And so what does that look like? So they did a survey for alumni at their university, and these are some of the results that they found. So they were able to use the skills that they got through the training during their fieldwork experiences as grad students. They felt that it increased their competitiveness during entry-level job searching upon graduation, and then just having that increased confidence during an initial job search. And I'm not part of the study, but I felt that way also. You have that confidence, like I was saying before, you know, when you don't know what you're doing, it's hard to have confidence. And I felt like having LSVT Loud as a tool that I could use, I had confidence that I have something that I know will work. And so that's kind of along those same lines, having that confidence when you're, you know, searching for your jobs, that I have skills that can benefit and that can work. Job-specific benefits that were mentioned, so increased competency, enhanced job performance, enhanced workplace empowerment. I think that goes hand in hand with that confidence, and then increased job satisfaction and accomplishments. 85% of those surveys said they would recommend the course to future students, and 92% believe the certification to be valuable overall. And these were some of the quotes from those that they surveyed. So they were saying LSVT big helped me in my pediatrics fieldwork, working with children with autism who encountered challenges with motor planning and initiating. So again, a field that we haven't really, or a population we haven't really studied much, but we go through that again in the training. If you have a patient that you think it might work with, we go through kind of step by step what that would look like to see if this patient may be a good candidate. And so we are seeing, a spread into pediatrics. Definitely for LSVT loud, we have some research with cerebral palsy and Down syndrome, and it's starting to go a little bit more into LSVT big as well. And so, we encourage therapists to, if you have someone that you think this might work on, go through the steps and see if they would be a good candidate, and let us know. We would love to know who it's working with for you. It increased tools to use when working with a variety of patients with neurological conditions. So again, just having that extra tool in your toolbox to know, okay, let's try this. What I've learned in LSVT big, let's apply this to another population. Increased confidence in educating patients about their current condition, and increased confidence in treating patients with Parkinson's. So some nice quotes that they got from that survey. Just a little bit of history of when we started. So Julius showed you when the research started. Back in 1987 was when the first person with Parkinson's, they developed the treatment with her, and that was Lee Silverman. And that's, of course, where the name comes from, the Lee Silverman voice treatment. So from that first kind of case study to the launch of the first course was in 1993. And then LSVT Big came along, and their first in-person course was in 2007. Then we started doing online learning, so just self-paced. You can do the full certification online, and that began in 2010 for LSVT Loud, and then 2014 for LSVT Big. And then in a large part because of the pandemic, we had to switch gears and offer a new mode of delivery, which is the virtual live course. And so those are our three primary options. And the virtual live is basically a blend of some pre-recorded modules that you do yourself online, and then 2 shorter days of virtual, I say in person, but virtually live. So virtually together over Zoom. So similar to this, but you would be in a meeting setting, and so we can see everyone in the audience. And there's a lot of interaction. So that's the third kind of mode of delivering the training. And we've kept that. So we initiated that during COVID when we couldn't travel, and some people wanted more of that, hands-on interaction instead of just doing fully online. And so we still have that virtual live approach. We have all three of these options, and I'll cover those in some slides coming up. But that's kind of the main three options there. And then as we've studied more pediatrics with LSVT Loud, then we've started to develop more kids-focused courses. So in 2021, we started the virtual live LSVT Loud for Kids courses. And then just last year, we launched the online LSVT Loud for Kids course. And so if you're interested in pediatrics more so than adults, you could take this version. Either version allows you to become certified as an LSVT Loud provider. It's just the LSVT Loud for Kids focuses mainly on pediatrics. And so the more of the examples, the videos are going to be geared towards kids versus the other one is more geared towards adults. Either way that you get certified, you can do the protocol, across populations, pediatrics or adults. It's more just kind of what the focus is, the lens of which we're teaching it, I guess is the best way to say that. And then just some quick stats, and these should be accurate as of January this year. So we have 96 countries represented by therapists. So LSVT Big and LSVT Loud are around the world. And we have over 26,000, it's actually almost 27,000 LSVT Loud certified clinicians. And I think it's about 36,500 LSVT Big certified clinicians. So a huge database of clinicians. And I'll talk again later about how you can also get in touch with these other clinicians. So, this great network of clinicians around the world. And these, I'll just kind of go through briefly what the formats are. So that in-person LSVT Loud and LSVT Big training courses. So we hold these throughout the year in various locations around the world. And so you do have a few hours of pre-recorded modules that you would do before coming to the live course. And then you'd have 2 days of in-person interactive training. So you would have faculty teaching you. You would also be working with your peers in the setting that you're in. And then on day 2 of those workshops, we also have volunteers with Parkinson's come in or other disorders, and that you can actually practice your clinical skills on people with neurological conditions. And so that's what the in-person training looks like. There's lots of videos, demos, and then again, some practice with other participants and those with neurological conditions. So those again kind of happen throughout the year. So the best way to find out if there's one near you or a location that you are interested in traveling to, you can go to our website. And then, so if you go to lsvtglobal.com, there's a button on the top right that says Get Certified. And then there's options. You can click in-person courses and see when those are held throughout the year. And students can get certified as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about students coming up. The virtual live, as I mentioned, so it's going to be similar to live in that you get some pre-recorded modules that you watch on your own first. And then you have 2 days of that live training via Zoom. So it will kind of look like what you have here on the screen where you're meeting with your peers. So you'll get some of that interactive practice with each other. We send clinicians into breakout rooms. So if you're familiar with Zoom, you might be familiar with those where we have a large group that we come together and we do the main lecture for, and then we send you into small groups to practice with each other. And then on day 2 of that, you also get a chance to practice with our volunteers with Parkinson's or other conditions. And so for that, you also go to a breakout room with some other therapists in your group, and you have your patient that you're working with. And so you get that practice with the patient as well. So again, kind of similar to in person, but just all virtual. And so those are also held throughout the year in different languages too. So if we have anyone joining internationally, we have German, we have an Italian one at the end of the year. I almost just said Ireland, but they speak English, so that doesn't really matter. We just had an in-person Ireland course. But so there's courses in multiple languages and English held throughout the year, so you can check on the website and see, you know, when those are coming up as well. And students can also participate in those courses. And then the on-demand, so that's going to be all self-paced. From the day you register, you have 60 days to complete the course. And this is all going to be pre-recorded, broken into short learning modules. So again, that you can start and stop as needed. We filled this with a lot of video demonstrations. We know how powerful those can be, not only to see results, but then also to see, you know, therapists doing the strategies that we're talking to you about. So there's a lot of videos in that online course. There's some interactive modules where you'll pause and then the instructor will tell you, okay, pause your video and this is what you're going to do. And you'll practice the exercises that we're teaching you in the courses. There's an exam at the end, and then throughout the course, there's knowledge checks built in to kind of test your learning and see if there's anything you want to review before going on. It includes digital training materials, or you can have printed materials shipped for a small fee. And then you can practice on your own, or we have had people that like to do it in groups. So you do it individually yet together. So then you might, you know, when you pause for a practice session, then you have a partner with you and you can practice on each other. So that's, you know, that's a possibility too. And so those, again, you can do that anytime. And so at our website, if you go to that Get Certified, click on online courses, and then you'll see options for that. And then, as I mentioned, so LSVT Loud for Kids is a newer addition to the courses, and you can do that in either the virtual live or online format. And it's, again, you become certified in the same LSVT Loud protocol as the course that's focused on adults, but the content is more focused on pediatrics. And a lot of it's going to be on cerebral palsy and Down syndrome, because that's what most of the research has been on so far with pediatrics. And so it's the same treatment protocol. You get the same certification, but again, through that pediatric focus, that pediatric lens. So some benefits to certification. So once you're certified, you have a clinician account on our website. And in that, you'll have downloadable resources that include forms for assessment, treatment, your clinical practice. So it's really nice to have these forms and then templates for you that you can customize to your own clinic. And they're available in multiple languages. And then we have live and on-demand webinars on advanced topics. And so just like you're in a community webinar, which is open to the public, we also have webinars on more advanced topics for LSVT Loud and LSVT Big once you're certified, and we kind of take a deep dive into certain areas of focus for the treatments or different populations or whatever it may be. And so we host those live throughout the year. And then every webinar that we do live, we also record. So then you have a library full of on-demand webinars from past topics that we've done as well. And so those are available to you at no additional cost once you become certified. And then, as I mentioned, you see that there's therapists all over the world, tens of thousands. And so you have access after certification to a Facebook group for networking. So you can post questions, comments. And so, therapists from around the world will answer you. The faculty are on those groups too, so they can answer questions. And then, yeah, again, just networking as well. So we're happy to connect you with those groups. And then you can have access to faculty during and after certification. So we have what are called like our Ask the Expert. And so you can always email or call in. And we're happy to walk through, any questions that you may have, any challenging cases, difficulty, with insurance or questions about that. We're happy to walk you through that. There's some homework helper videos for LSVT Loud and LSVT Big that you receive a video, a DVD, or able to stream those videos after you become certified also. And then there are extra courses that you can take to then be able to lead your own Big for Life or Loud for Life groups. And those are groups that are people who have gone through the treatment already, and now they're in a maintenance group. And so they meet, you can choose, we typically do them weekly. So it's a group of people who have already gone through the therapy, and we practice together in a group. And then we break up usually into small groups and do some type of activity. For Loud, obviously we're focused on that conversation. For the Big for Life, they're focused on the movement. So those are some really motivating groups to help people continue to use their loud voice or use their big movements in a really kind of fun and motivating setting with fellow participants who have gone through the same treatment as them. So once you're certified in the LSVT Loud or LSVT Big treatment, you have the option to also take that advanced course to become Big for Life or Loud for Life to become a trainer in those. And you'll also be able to be listed on our LSVT clinician directory. And so that allows you to get referrals from other providers. Again, patients look at those too. And if you're a student, we won't put you on yet, but upon graduation, you have access to that as well at no additional cost. And there's some marketing resources to help you spread the word that now you're certified and you're taking patients. And so we have some resources that you can utilize for that. And as I mentioned, if you do take it as a student, once you graduate, you don't have to retake the course or the exam or any fees to upgrade. You just let us know that you graduated. I think they want a picture of your, just picture of proof, diploma, or whatever it may be, and then we can switch your status to professional. You can begin taking your own referrals. Yeah, but nothing additional with that. I think that was my 9 there. Okay. And then for pricing, so professionals, it's $605, either SLPs, PTs, or OTs. If you're a clinical fellow or a resident, it's $465. A student, it's $325. And then a previously certified clinician or therapist, it would be $225. So you never have to retake the full course, but some therapists want to. And so that's why we have that previously certified price. Either they want to get the CEUs, or it's, they didn't see a patient for a while, or they haven't used a treatment for a while, and they want the full big course again, and that's fine. And so we have that price. There's also some group pricing, as I mentioned. So if you have 5 or more registrants that register together, then there's a discount for that. And also university groups, there's some other discounts if you want to get a university group together, like that study that I showed you for the SUNY downstate students. There's other universities who also have been incorporating it into their curriculum now. So if you're interested in bringing that to your university, reach out to us. We're happy to help you get started and help you get that facilitated. And then every 2 years, we do have certification renewal, and we do have a new course for that. So you're not just watching the same thing over and over, but you would see a new course. It gives you updates on, any clinical practice, any research that's been done, lots of videos. It's a great refresher. And so that's available online. It's a short course eligible for CEUs. And we recently started recording some of the feedback that we were getting. And so if you go to our website, you'll see some reviews of what people think of the courses. And this was a nice one that stood out to us. So the LSVT courses are excellent. They consistently provide both a strong research and thoughtful hands-on instruction. I have every course with a long list of ideas, or I leave every course with a long list of ideas I can instantly apply the next day in treatment. So if you want to see what people are saying, feel free to go to our Trustpilot ratings, and there's some nice feedback there that kind of gives you some insight into what others think of the courses that we've set up. In summary, I think I have these a little out of order there. But so you heard from Julia, there's a huge global need for therapists who have expertise in Parkinson's and other neurological conditions. When you become LSVT certified, LSVT Loud or LSVT Big, we're here to give you ongoing support. So it's not just that you're certified and you never hear from us again. We want to help you optimize the way you do treatment. So there's, again, so much research on the treatment. It does no good if it's not implemented out there in the real world. So we want to make sure that the treatment that was studied and researched so thoroughly in the lab is available to patients all over the world, and that it's done just as well as it was done and as thoroughly as it was done in the research studies. So we're here to help you along the way. So we say you're stuck with us for life once you get certified, and we're happy to be there for you. And then again, it can be obtained through in-person, so in-person courses held throughout the year, virtual live, so that Zoom virtual live interaction, those again are held throughout the year, or online learning, which can be taken at any time. And if you're interested in learning more, so there's a neat simu case, which is basically a simulation of a client, so Judith, an SLP and OT, and so you can practice skills with Judith virtually, and it kind of walks you through like a case study with her. We have some blog resources, so there's live and on-demand webinars. We have these community webinars, which we host throughout the year, and then we also have an on-demand library of our community webinars that dive into various topics related to either the treatments or Parkinson's or other neurological conditions. So go ahead and you can take a look at those on our blog. And then we have blog posts with a variety of topics, testimonials from patients and therapists, and then lots of videos. I always find those videos so inspiring. So if you want to see other videos of pre and post treatment or what treatment might look like, I encourage you to check out those videos. And then our pride is our research. And so you can see the whole research list on our blog as well. So it's divided up by LSVT Loud, LSVT Big, other populations, pediatrics, and a lot of those are also open access now. So we encourage you to take a look at that research. And then our main website, so lsvtglobal.com, has a wealth of information on there. We're working hard to be more with the times and modern, and we're really beefing up our YouTube page too. So we have a lot of videos on there. The webinar recordings are on there too. So you can take a look at our YouTube page, subscribe to that. We also have a podcast now, and that's also available on our YouTube page. And on that, we dive into various topics too about the treatments, Parkinson's, other conditions. We have some patients who have been on that podcast too that are really inspiring to hear their stories. So we encourage you to also take a look at that YouTube channel and see what you can find there. And then we're on social media. So follow us for, any updates, information. We have Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. And we do have a webinar next month that will focus on pediatrics. It's mainly going to be on LSVT Loud and pediatrics, but we will also touch on LSVT Big. And so that will be next Wednesday, or not next Wednesday, but next month, Wednesday, March 19th. And so that will be on our website. If you scroll down to the March events, you can find that webinar if you're interested in learning more about pediatrics and LSVT Loud and LSVT Big applied to them. So if you do have any questions, you can type it in the Q&A box on your webinar control panel, or if you can raise your hand and we can see your hand raised and we can call out your name and you can ask your question out loud. If you think of a question at the end of the webinar, you can always email us at webinars@lsvtglobal.com and we can respond to that later. So if you have any questions now, feel free to type those in. I just have a couple more slides I'll go over, but then we can take those questions at the end. And the survey that Julia mentioned, so we do really appreciate if you can fill that out. It gives us some great insight onto, what you like to see for content. It helps us tailor the webinars for you specifically. We want to make sure they're topics that you enjoy, and they're presented in a way that you're enjoying, and that is beneficial to you. So feel free. We would love if you fill that out. At the end of this webinar, it will display on the screen, and it will also be in an email. The email is automatically sent one day after the webinar, and so there's going to be a link in that email too. If you're watching on demand, there's a survey link that you can find below the webinar description. Either if you're watching from our website or the blog, you can find it there, or if you're coming from YouTube, it's in that description on YouTube. And if you can't find the survey, feel free to email us and we'll send you the link. It's pretty quick. I think there's only 9 or so questions, so it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to complete. And as I mentioned, we do have a podcast. So I think we have 13 episodes so far, and we record number 14 tomorrow, actually. And so feel free to take a look at those episodes. This is on our YouTube channel, or they're available wherever you get your podcasts. So it's called Think Big and Loud. And take a listen. And just a big thank you. So thank you to Julia. Thank you to everyone in our audience for being here. We really appreciate your time here today. And if you do have an interest in looking at that research, this is where it can be found. And it again shows you all the categories and the wealth of research that has been done on both treatment protocols. And let me just see if there were any questions that came through. I'll bring that slide back up. Okay. All right, so I see one question that came through. Okay, so curious if the training is available in Spanish and if the training is for professionals in physiotherapy or speech therapy. Can it be done by someone with no previous training in these subjects? Okay, so for LSVT Loud, it is just for speech language pathologists. So I know different countries have different requirements for what is needed to become a speech language pathologist, whether it's a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. But a person does have to be a speech language pathologist. So it can't be a different discipline to be LSVT Loud certified. And then the same thing with LSVT Big. You would either need to be a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. So it's not open to like a personal trainer or some other type of profession like that to become certified. And then as for Spanish, we don't have an online training that's in Spanish at this time. And I'm trying to think, I don't think we have a virtual live scheduled in Spanish for this year. But if that's something you're interested in, let us know, and we're happy to look into options for that and let you know, when something in Spanish is available, whether it's, online, virtual, live, or live. Okay, and let me just see. So I saw those in the chat. Julia, do you see anything in the, I can't see the Q&A. And sorry, you're muted if you're trying to, oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, there, okay.
Now I can see them.
Okay.
There we
Okay.
go.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm interested in taking the in-person course and I'm willing to travel to take it. So I'm wondering how often a year the in-person course is usually offered. And this one, the question is in English. So I feel like I could go to the website really quick and find out for you, but I don't know if you're interested in LSVT loud or LSVT big, but I would say, anywhere from 6 to 10 times it's offered throughout the year. Kind of just a rough estimate thinking of where we are in this year. So usually, internationally, we usually don't do as much in the summer. But in the US, it's kind of throughout the year. So I'm going to just go to the website real quick and just give a quick glance at it. But I would say usually between like 6 and 10 per year. Okay. Did you see any other questions come through, Julia?
No, I don't.
Okay. So
Just
then,
we had someone who can't get the handouts. Oh,
okay.
okay. So it looks like you put the link in. So there we go.
All right. So you want to just bear with me for a minute. I'll just check real quick for our in-person for this year. Okay. So right now for LSVT Louds, we have a few in-person. These ones, so we have one coming up in Germany, and then one in Greece and one in Japan, and we don't have our domestic ones on here, or the ones in the US for SLPs, for PTs and OTs. So we have one in Ireland, Germany, Philadelphia, Korea, Japan, and Germany so far for 2025. So I'm not sure if you were interested in LSVT loud or LSVT big, but that's what we have right now for in-person courses for 2025.
She's looking for loud.
Okay, yeah. So that's where they are right now. And so I can follow up with you and let you know what we have planned for the US ones on 2025 if they're not on the website yet. So we don't have any in the coming months, but if we have some for the end of 2025, I will definitely let you know. So I'm going to just jot down your name and follow up with you and let you know which US ones we might have for later in the year. Okay, and then there's one other person who said they can't get the handouts on here. So I'm just gonna upload that again. You should have got a reminder email about 1 hour before the webinar, and it also had a link in it to the handout in case you're not able to get it right here. And then after the webinar, there's an automatic email that goes out. I think it's about 24 hours after the webinar that will also have a link to it. Let me see if I can also grab that link. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna, if I don't want to mess up anything if I go out of this window, but I'm gonna see if I can just get you that link too instead of just sending the PDF. Okay, so Oh, shoot. Where I went to access it, I couldn't. But so I'm going to also just take a note of you. So Stacy, I see you. I'll follow up with you right after the webinar and send you that link. But again, it will also come in an email about 24 hours after the live webinar. Okay. Well, I think that's everything then, and we're right at our target of an hour. So again, the survey will pop up right at the end of the webinar, and then be sent in the email if you don't have time to do it right now. But thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to Julia for being here and sharing your wisdom, and we hope to have you all again on a future webinar.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you
All right.
all.
Thank you.
Bye.